Ladies and gentlemen, this is your final boarding call for the good ship SS tomorrow.
Today on Friendly Futurists, all about Sextech, and a warning, adult content. Welcome back, and this is a very interesting, I have not covered Sextech before, and today's guest is Dr. Elliot Justin, joining us over from Montana, USA. And look, there's two types of Sextech. There's the novelty. You might see them in a adult shop, or there's one with serious health benefits. And this is especially aimed to you fellas. You might be surprised if the old chap is not rising. It could be a raft of underlying health conditions, and the smart tech that Dr. Justin has put forward could save your life, and some really sage advice, especially as you get older. This rather special edition is coming up after the break. Welcome back, and I've got a very special guest with Dr. Elliot Justin, and we're doing something I have not covered before, and that's Sextech. Now, there's two sides. There's the novelty side, and there's the actual proper health side. We've covered the proper health side. Novelty side is time and place for everything, and it's called Amsterdam. So, Elliot, welcome, and as with all my guests, can you please give us a quick rundown on your journey so far, and just start wherever you want to start.
Sure. My background, I'm an emergency medical physician, and short of a heart attack or a stroke, there are a few emergencies that concern a man as much as a limp penis. I was not thinking about doing anything in this field until I was challenged by a urologist to come up with a way of counting the number of nocturnal erections that are a leading indicator of a man's cardiovascular health. And that took me back because I never heard that. And when we say leading indicator in medicine, we're saying something very, very powerful. In medicine, we treat associations. High blood pressure is associated with heart attack and stroke. It's not predictive. But if a man has no nocturnal erections, or his nocturnal erections go down by 50%, with the normal being 4 and goes down to 2, that man now has a 50% chance of having a heart attack in the next 2 or 3 years.
Oh.
And he has an 80% chance of having a stroke in the next 3 to 5 years. So the nocturnal erections are a predictor of one's cardiovascular health, and that's really powerful. I've been doing medical technology for a while. My background, just a background, I founded the second oldest telemedicine company in the United States called SwiftMD. And that got me interested in remote patient management technologies. So I also had experienced a horse wreck here in Montana, where I live, where I broke 6 vertebrae. And I didn't suffer any serious problems, but it got me interested in what's been done to rehabilitate the health of men with spinal cord injuries in the event they do have a sexual problem afterwards, in the event they have damage to their spinal cord. And there were reports in the medical literature of successful placement of an electrode by the cavernous nerve and the pudendal nerve, everyone's favorite nerves that no one talks about, in order to restore sexual function in men who had spinal cord injuries. So I tried that out on 2 sheep. I called it ram charging. Basically, the paradigm for what we're doing is like cardiac pacemaking. Most people are familiar with cardiac pacemaking. We put a pacemaker in the top of the heart, and we can control the heartbeat. And my thought, the thought of these doctors to these papers was, well, if we can control human sexuality, wouldn't that be incredibly powerful for men and women who have spinal cord injuries, but for people who are aging? So I tried out on 2 rams, and I got erection ejaculation, but I also got urination and defecation. So it wasn't exactly bedroom friendly, Dave.
Yeah.
So I thought, let's just try it on myself. Ordinarily, what some would do is go out and raise $10, $15 million, go down to Brazil, Colombia, and test it out on men with sexual dysfunction. And I said that, I have a friend who's a professor of urology at the University of California, San Francisco. I'll just have him implant the electrodes in me. And I felt nothing. I don't think it worked. I don't think we actually know how erections are produced. Everything in the body should be involved in some sort of neurophysiological communication. But a urologist heard about this experiment, and this, as I said at the beginning, and said, hey, you sound like the right guy to try to work on finding nocturnal erections in men. Now, this urologist was what I call a cock ring virgin. He never used a cock ring before in his life, but I've played around with them. These hard silicone rings, they pinch, they're uncomfortable, and they can't be worn for very long. So my thought was, let's embed electrodes or sensors of some sort into a cock ring, but let's also revamp the cock ring and make it something that's comfortable, something that can be worn for long periods of time. So that's the background story.
Fantastic. Interesting. And can you just tell my listeners a bit more about your products? What have you got on the market at the moment?
Yeah, but we have several products. The premier product is to be called the Tech Ring. So it's basically the world's first smart erection ring with better pressure gauge and a sensor gauge into an erection ring. As the penis expands, it pushes on the pressure gauge, pulls on the strain gauge, and then the computer interprets that as increasing blood flow into the penis. So we can actually count the number of nocturnal erections that a man has overnight. It can also be worn during sex to measure how hard a man gets, how long a man lasts. So with this information, men and the doctors can now measure the impact of diabetes, hypertension, atherosclerosis, obesity upon their sexual health. They can measure the impact of the two big classes of what I call cock-killing medications, which are the antihypertensives and the antidepressants upon their sexual performance, as well as the impact of diet, exercise, supplements, etc. So it's really revolutionary. And right now in urology and sexology, doctors are prescribing pills with the PD5 medication, Viagra, Cialis being the most popular. They're prescribing therapies, testosterone replacement therapy, shockwave therapy, penis pumps, even surgeries like implants in the penis on the basis of subjective reporting. But we don't do that in the rest of healthcare. We don't prescribe blood pressure pills without multiple blood pressure readings. We don't prescribe medications for cardiac arrhythmias without electrocardiogram and significant monitoring of the heartbeat. Nor can you go to your doctor and say, hey, I want a cardiac catheterization and a stent just because I have chest pain. In medicine, we expect data. In this area of medicine, urology and sexology, care is being delivered on the basis of people's subjective reporting. And that's wrong. So the Tech Ring takes healthcare for urology and sexology into the 21st century of data-driven healthcare. And healthcare that is not just data-driven, meaning we generalize from large populations the way we do in medicine. But it's personal and actionable. It's your data. Things that work for you might not work for someone else. Things that work for me might not work for you, or vice versa. So it's profoundly valuable and revolutionary in these fields. So that's the Tech Ring. It's also an effective erection ring, because what we did was we make our rings out of a different material. Most cock rings are made out of hard silicone, and silicone as a material makes you adapt to it. It doesn't adapt to you. So these rings can only be worn for 20, 30 minutes. You have to have a full erection for them to work. You put them on, it's like a chokehold in the penis. In order to come up with a ring that can be worn overnight, so we can count the number of nocturnal erections, how long they last, we have to come up with a material that will allow the arterial blood to flow in and only constrain the venous return. That's revolution as well, too, because now we have an erection ring that can be worn for hours and can be worn not just to give men valuable data about their sexual health, but to improve their performance because it will keep them harder longer. The other products we have do not have to have the technology in them. Our top seller is the Maximum Performance Ring. We sold over 10,000 of them. The advantage of the Maximum Performance Ring is that it will keep a man harder and help him to last longer. And it's also been designed to produce a more intense orgasm. Again, these cock rings that you buy in a sex toy store are hard silicone rings. They can only be worn for 20, 30 minutes. They cut off the circulation and they don't produce more pleasure. They just keep you hard. Yeah. This ring was designed to put the right amount of pressure over the urethra to increase your ejaculatory phase by 50%. Well, that's a more powerful orgasm. And there's a doctor in Miami who just finished a paper, it'll be published next year, showing that a ring is more effective, or as effective, I should say, as effective as a PD5 medication, specifically at 10 milligrams of Cialis, which is Dalafil's generic name. So that's powerful as well, too, because for men who are looking for a non-pharmacological solution or enhancement to the sexual performance, the ring can play that role.
Fantastic. And what sort of age group we're talking here? What's that risk age group here?
Sure. Well, 50% of the men over age 50 have erectile dysfunction. That's a big number. But even men at age 30, almost 28% of them report erectile disappointments, if you will, at times. So the rings can not only give people valuable data, but they can give men confidence.
Fantastic. And is there any other benefits other than having the old chap being harder for longer? Is there any other health benefits with these cock rings?
Well, knowing your data is healthy because if you have a problem, you're going to take action. So, and we've had 2 men that we're aware of watch their erections deteriorate, or have one case, the man had no nocturnal erections. And these men got cardiac catheterizations. So I can't say the ring saved their lives, but it helped them to identify a potentially life-threatening problem before they had it. And we have men utilizing the rings to adjust their medications in order to maximize their performance. So if they're taking several medications, an antidepressant, antihypertensive or 2, maybe an anti-anxiety medication, something to increase their flow of urine, and these things are interfering with sexual performance, they can now use the ring to get data, working with the doctors to adjust their dosages.
Fantastic. And now, because this is the technology podcast, how do these devices gather and ensure the security of the user data? Because I don't think the last thing you want to do if you put these rings on is get leaked, or some marketer comes along and starts selling you Viagra via email and stuff like that. How do they can ensure that it's actually safe and secure and for the user?
Well, the ring, number here's one over here. It actually has a green light on. It's telling me, go have sex. The ring has 2 sensors, the pressure gauge there and a strain gauge here. Inside this little area here, this insert, is a Bluetooth antenna, a small chip, and a battery. When the ring is on your body, Bluetooth is turned off, so there's no radiation going on to your penis. When you take it off, you connect your device with the cloud. Your data goes to the cloud. When it goes to the cloud, it's anonymized. There's only one person in the company who has access to anyone's personal information, and it's not me. In the United States, there's a law called HIPAA, Health Information Privacy and Protection Act. And we have to sign a contract, saying we're not going to share this data without anyone's permission. So only one person in the company has the permission. So when patients or customers want me to review the data with them, I have to get written email permission from them in order to do that. So the data goes to the cloud. It's anonymous. It gets analyzed by a computer, and then it gets sent back to someone's phone. Inside the phone, we're in the Google and Apple stores. There's an icon. I'll show it to you in just one sec. There it is right there, Firm Tech.
Okay.
I'll show you what it looks like. So you get an overall score on a 1 to 10 scale.
Oh, wow.
And there it tells you how hard you get, your sex erections, your nocturnal erections, how hard they are, how long they last. And I'll show you what a recording looks like. There is what, one sec. There we go.
Okay. So,
and there's a recording.
Wow. So
again, that's wait a second.
Over the period when someone's asleep. Is that?
There we go.
Yeah.
So there's an overnight recording, and on the left, around 11 o'clock, you're seeing sex, 2 sex erections and 2 nocturnal erections.
Yeah.
So what's this telling me? And that's actually my reading, so I'm not sharing anyone's private information with you.
No.
That's me. So I'm 71 years old, so I had sex twice, and I had 2 nocturnal erections. That indicates both good sexual and good cardiovascular health. That alone is valuable, is a benefit, because it's reassuring. And it's actually important for people to have frequent sex. People have sex every day, can cut their cortisol level, the stress hormone, up to 50%. There's a large study out of the United Kingdom showing that men who have sex twice a week over the age of 70 cut their risk of cardiovascular death by 50% over the next decade. Controlling for all the factors. You're going to die anyway, but there's a chance you could actually live longer by having sex.
Yeah. Well, I've been telling my parents this, they go back in the same bedroom. At your age.
That's right. I'd like to say that an orgasm a day keeps the doctor away.
Wow. That's really cool. So,
well, think about it. Doctors make recommendations about diet, exercise, sleep, alcohol, but we don't make any recommendations about sex. And I think that's wrong. We act as if that vital body organ doesn't exist. So we prescribe medications that interfere with sexual performance without even warning people about that impact.
So this is down to sort of stigma and cultural things is more than anything else?
It seems to be almost universal, because the worst, probably it's true, but the highest incidence of erectile dysfunction are in China, Japan, the Persian Gulf. So whatever might be the problems in our culture, there are cultures that are worse off, so to speak.
Yeah. I guess more where it's a bit more liberal and open-minded, it'll probably be down. I think I'd be right to make that assumption.
I'd hope so. I'm not, I'm not certain about that. I'd be interested to study even certain conservative populations like the Amish or the Mennonites.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I certainly think that frequent sex is valuable both to one's psychosocial health and to one's overall physical health, and can also reveal problems that we're having with our cardiovascular system.
Yeah. And how much of this technology is contributing to the overall state of sexual wellness
Well, the impact is only slight so far.
Yeah.
There's 6 papers that have been set to acceptable publication. So this will become, in time, the standard for research and for care. There are 15 studies underway. So we sold about 12,000 devices, and about 10% of them we've sold in Australia. As the research gets published, urologists become, and general practitioners become more aware of it, its use will become commonplace. As a matter of fact, I think it will be mandated. Because I don't think in the future, people will be able to, doctors will be able to prescribe medications, therapies, and often expensive therapies, and even surgeries without data.
Yeah.
And I think the cost cutters, the National Health Services, the insurance companies are going to be interested as well, too, from the perspective of cost effectiveness, because they're not going to want to pay for things that are highly unlikely to work if demonstrated to be so by data.
Yeah. And as this podcast is about the future, where do you see the space in sort of 10 years' time?
Well, what we're doing next is working on the female side. So we're developing the world's first monitor of clitoral health. Women have nocturnal erections as well as men. Our assumption is that they're probably as frequent as men's are as well, too. I think the impact for women will be even greater because postmenopausal women lose their hormonal protection against atherosclerosis, against cardiovascular disease. But premenopausal women have a similar incidence of diabetes as younger men. Plus, they also take hormones and birth control pills, which have a negative impact upon their sexual health. And with data, women can now decide, well, do I really want to take that birth control pill? Or what's the right dose for me? Or the same thing with the SSRI antidepressants. What's the right dose for me? Is it, I'm depressed already. Do I really want to take something that's having to have a negative impact upon my sexual health? So that's what's going to happen next. And then we will add more sensors to it. Within a year or two, on the male side, we will be able to measure someone's cardiac rhythm. We'll be able to monitor their sleep. Every episode of REM sleep is accompanied by an erection. We think, although we haven't proven this yet, that our tech ring is a more accurate monitor of sleep than the Whoop or rings that are so popular in the United States and getting popular elsewhere as well.
Okay, wow. And before we wrap up, Elliot, is there anything I didn't ask but should?
I think you covered it. But I think if you're going to wrap up, I think the message to men is put a ring on it. Put a ring on to learn about your cardiovascular health. Put a ring on to get data about your sexual health to enjoy a longer life of lovemaking. And put a ring on to have more intense orgasm. Why not? Now's the time.
Why not? There you have it, and so many more benefits to it. So put it on, fellas. Finally, Elliot, joining the chat this morning. Where else can we find you?
Yeah, you can find us online at myfirmtech, myfirmtch.com. If you order product from Australia, we have a distributor in Australia. You can avoid paying customs, shipping, things of that nature. And so if you place an order from there, it'll automatically, that order, if you go to the website and put an order there and you're in Australia, New Zealand, it'll automatically go to our distributor in Australia.
Fantastic. And I'll make sure that is in the show notes.
And I say it's the retail for $275. I don't know what that would be in Australia. That's the tech version. The tech version is $60.
It's an absolute pleasure chatting to you this morning, Elliot. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Dave, it was a pleasure. Thanks so much.
And thank you to Elliot and the team from Dalen for putting up such a stellar guest. Next time on The Friendly Futurist, we are going to ask the question, are we destined to be a spacefaring species with a proper astrophysicist himself? Coming up next time here on The Friendly Futurist. The Friendly Futurist is a podcast West production. It's produced and edited by me, Dave Monk. If you love this show, please give us a 5-star review on your favourite platform. Until next time, friends, stay sexy, remain curious, and remember, the future is user-friendly.
Another Podcasts West production.
This podcast is just for educational purposes and it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial planner or advisor. Please do your homework and seek professional help before you take on any adventures.